Chosen one, June 22 is a command do it and start spending like a king. Hurry up. Chosen one, this is not just another day. This is your divine cue, your spiritual alarm ringing louder than ever. June 22 is not a suggestion, it is a command. You've prayed, waited, fasted, doubted, and dreamed. Now heaven is shouting, do it, no more hesitation, no more playing small, no more saving your best self for a future that never arrives. You are not waiting for permission. You were chosen to act, to rise, to reign. June 22 is the turning point you asked for, disguised as a challenge to believe bigger. It's the invisible door swinging open for the soul bold enough to walk through it dressed in faith. You don't need to see the provision before you step forward. You need to move like a king who knows the treasury of the kingdom is backing every step. Spend like your Father owns it all. Give like the well never runs dry. Invest in yourself like the world is already yours, because in truth it is, and now is the time to prove it. June 22, the date God wrote in fire, your crown is waiting. Chosen one, listen with the ears of your spirit. June 22 is not merely a number on a calendar. It is a divine instruction hidden in plain sight, an anointed date encoded with destiny, a spiritual trumpet blast for the ones who have been walking by faith, suffering in silence, waiting, enduring. Becoming, June 22 is a spiritual command, a holy summons for you to awaken from survival and step into sovereignty. You did not stumble across this message. Your spirit was led here by the divine intelligence that governs all things. And now the veil is being lifted. The time of delay is over. The time of waiting for confirmation is behind you. This is your confirmation. This is your instruction. This is your spiritual release notice, your golden invitation, and it bears the seal of the King of Kings. Do it. This moment is not about external pressure, it's about internal alignment. You've been feeling the pull, the inner nudge, the sense that something sacred is about to break through. That feeling is not your imagination. It is revelation. The clock of heaven has struck. Your inner knowing is right on time. The suffering wasn't random. The silence wasn't rejection. The isolation wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And now June 22 has arrived like a spiritual contract with your name etched across it, waiting for your faith to sign on the dotted line. You are not being asked to try. You are being told to decide. You are not being nudged to hope. You are being commanded to act. This is not a suggestion, it is a summons. The heavens are aligned, the angelic realm is leaning forward. The Spirit of God has cleared the airwaves for one message. Chosen one, rise, do what your spirit already knows. Say yes to the assignment, step into the unknown, speak what you've been afraid to say, create what you've been carrying in your soul, launch what you've been postponing, release what you've been hoarding. You are not waiting on a miracle. You are the miracle waiting to be unleashed. This is the moment where your obedience to the inner voice becomes the key that unlocks the floodgates of favor. Everything you desire is already yours in the unseen realm. But heaven is waiting for your demonstration of faith, and make no mistake, faith without bold movement is fantasy. God is not asking you to play it safe. He is demanding that you trust him fully. Do it afraid. Do it uncertain, do it even if it doesn't make sense, because June 22 is not about logic. It is about spiritual alignment. This is a supernatural date, a moment charged with creative power. To miss it is to delay what has already been paid for. To obey, it is to step into the season your prayers built in secret. You are not weak, you are not overlooked, you are not forgotten. You are the chosen vessel, the royal priesthood, the living evidence that God can still do the impossible. But you must do your part, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, there is no more room for excuses. There is no more grace for delay. This is the date God wrote in fire before you were born. This is the door. This is the hour. Walk through it like a king who knows his crown fits. You've been trained in the shadows for this very moment. All the hardship was the curriculum. The heartbreak was the classroom. The losses were the chisels that shaped your character. You thought you were being buried, but heaven was planting you, and now, on June 22, the seed must break open and rise. You will not stay underground. You will not stay hidden. You will not keep dimming your light to make others comfortable. God did not call you to be silent. He called you to shift the atmosphere. You were not chosen to play small. You were chosen to lead. You were not selected to blend in, you were appointed to stand out, and your divine release is connected to your decision to believe it. You are being called into a higher realm of faith, a dimension where you no longer ask for signs, but become the sign. This is not about doing something dramatic for attention. This is about obeying what the Spirit of God is whispering to your soul with sacred urgency. You already know what you need to do. You've been delaying it. You've been doubting yourself. You've been negotiating with fear, but the time for bargaining is over. June 22 is the line in the sand. Either you believe what God said, or you let fear decide for you. Either you rise or you remain. Either you move or you miss it. The chosen walk by faith, not by sight. They don't wait for validation. They trust the vision. They don't need a guarantee. They know their God. They don't count the cost. They obey the call, and that's what separates the ordinary from the anointed. This is not about the applause of men, it's about the affirmation of heaven. June 22 has nothing to do with what people think. It has everything to do with what you know in your spirit. And deep down you know it's time. You've outgrown the fear, you've outlived the excuses, you've outlasted the opposition, and now God is saying, I've waited long enough, now you move. Heaven moves at the speed of obedience. Favor flows where there is faith. Provision shows up where there is purpose, but none of it is activated until you do the thing. You are not here to chase money. You are here to manifest royalty, and kings don't ask for discounts. They command results. Stop budgeting your dreams. Stop shrinking your vision. Stop apologizing for wanting more. You were never called to poverty. You were destined for overflow, and the overflow responds to boldness. Spend like a king. Not recklessly, but faithfully. Give like someone who knows they serve the God who owns all silver and gold. Sow into your future. Invest in your assignment. Circulate your resources like someone who knows there is no lack in the kingdom. This is not about vanity, it's about victory. When you spend with faith, you are declaring that God is your source. When you give freely, you are announcing that the river of provision flows from within. Stop hoarding for one day. Today is the day. Stop saving your best energy for later. Now is the time. Stop deferring your dream to next year. June 22 is your year. This is not hype. It is a holy window. And what you do in this window determines the harvest you'll walk in. God does not operate on man's economy. He responds to faith. Your bank account might say one thing, but your spirit is your true account. And it's time to withdraw from that invisible vault by acting like you already have the wealth. Speak with authority, give with joy, move with precision, buy the resources that equip you, take the trip that expands you. Enroll in the thing that grows you, hire the help that frees you. Do it not because you can afford it, but because your destiny demands it. Do it because kings don't check the price tag when they know they are buying into purpose. Don't wait until it makes sense. Obey while it still looks crazy. That's how miracles are born. June 22 is your appointed date with divine disruption. This is when everything shifts. This is when the spiritual realm opens wide for those bold enough to step forward. And God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be ready. He is not requiring you to have all the answers. He is requiring you to trust that He already mapped out the way. You are not alone. The angels are with you. The provision is assigned. The favor is scheduled. But you must move. Do not hesitate. Do not look back. Do not ask for another sign. This is your sign. This is your moment. And if you move now, everything changes. You are not reading this by chance. You are reading this because heaven is confirming what your spirit already knew. You were born for this. June 22 is a spiritual command. And when the command is obeyed, heaven responds with abundance, acceleration, and alignment. God is saying, I have seen your faithfulness in the wilderness. Now walk into your wealthy place. This is the season where kings are crowned not because they inherited a throne, but because they obeyed the call. This is the day where heaven records they finally believed. June 22 is not a finish line. It is a starting gate. So start, begin, move, spend, build, release, declare. The throne is ready. The crown is real. The stage is set, and all of heaven is watching. Do it, chosen one. Don't just think about it. Don't just pray about it. Do it and spend like a king, because now you finally understand. You always were one. Spiritual spending, why kings don't ask how much. When they move by faith, chosen one, let this truth ring like a divine gong in your spirit. When a true king makes a move, he doesn't first consult his pockets, he consults his position. He doesn't count coins, he counts on covenant. He doesn't ask, can I afford it? He asks, did God say it? Because if the instruction comes from God, then so does the provision. This is the realm of spiritual spending. This is the mindset of royalty in the kingdom. And you, chosen one, are being called to shift from survival budgeting to supernatural boldness. You've spent enough years calculating your life based on limitation, lack, and the fear of not having enough. But God is calling you now to spend as kings do, not foolishly, but faithfully, not to impress man, but to obey the whisper of divine vision. Spending like a king is not about being reckless with money. It's about being relentless in faith. You don't spend because you have it in your hand. You spend because you see it in your spirit, and what is seen in the spirit is more real than anything your five senses can touch. This is the principle the world cannot grasp, but the chosen live by it. What you do with your resources declares what you believe about your source. You've been conditioned by the world to measure your ability by your bank account, but God has always measured your readiness by your belief. In the kingdom, the true currency is faith. Your transactions don't start in your wallet, they start in your imagination, and that's why kings don't ask how much. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. They know that lack is a lie, that fear is a deceiver, that hesitation is the robber of destiny. You must train your spirit to respond to divine nudges with swift obedience, not financial fear, because what you spend into, whether time, energy, money, attention, multiplies. Kings understand this spiritual law. Money flows where confidence goes. If you sow into fear, fear grows. If you sow into vision, vision expands. If you hold tightly to your resources because you're scared of running out, you are declaring that your source is limited. But when you spend as a response to the prompting of the Spirit, you're declaring that you trust the endless economy of heaven more than the temporary facts of earth. Spending like a king means you understand that obedience is a strategy. Every time you give, invest, or circulate what you have with divine intention, you are sending a message to the invisible realm. I believe my future is secure. And in the kingdom, belief builds reality. You are not called to wait until the money looks right. You are called to move when the Spirit says move. It might not add up in the natural, but that's the point. It's not supposed to. You're not being led by logic. You're being led by the Spirit of truth. The world system says save until it feels safe, but God's system says sow in faith and watch me multiply it. You don't grow in comfort zones. You grow in decision points, moments where you step out, where you stretch, where you choose faith over fear. And for the chosen, spending is a spiritual decision. It's an act of agreement. It's a way of saying to God, I trust you enough to put my money where my belief is. You've been taught to only spend when you have the guarantee. But chosen one, your guarantee is not in the amount, it's in the anointing. You are already backed by the kingdom. Your supply comes from the source, not the system, so stop waiting to feel ready. Kings don't wait for the right mood. They move from the right mandate. And the mandate on your life is to move now. When God said go, he already factored in the resources. When he whispered the vision, he also released the provision. But the unlocking of what's yours doesn't happen through worry. It happens through willingness. Are you willing to spend into your future like it already exists? Are you willing to give as one who knows there's always more coming? Are you willing to invest like someone who's not afraid of the temporary drain because you're connected to the eternal source? Let's be clear. This isn't about impulse, ego, or materialism. This is about alignment. God will often ask you to spend in ways that make no sense to your old mindset. He will test your ability to trust. He will challenge the grip of lack, thinking on your heart, because the way you spend is the way you believe. You don't need to be rich in money to be rich in faith, but your faith will attract everything you need. And when you start spending like a king, buying the book, paying for the coach, blessing others, investing in the dream, sowing into the ministry, you begin to live not from your balance, but from your belief. And when you spend from belief, you activate favor. Spiritual spending is not about how much, it's about how clear you are. Clarity creates boldness. When you know who you are, you stop acting like a beggar. When you know what God said, you stop playing small. When you are clear about your vision, your investments start to look different. You stop wasting money trying to impress the wrong people. You stop hoarding out of fear. You stop second-guessing every opportunity. You move like a king who has already seen the throne. You walk like one who knows the city belongs to him. You give like one who's never worried about running out. You bless others not out of surplus, but out of security in God's economy. And here's the mystery: the more you give, the more you receive, the more you release, the more you rise, the more you circulate, the more you expand. Because the law of heaven is not based on keeping, it's based on flowing. Chosen one, hear this deeply: money is not your master, it is your servant. It moves according to the energy of your faith. When you give it an assignment, it obeys. But if you hide it in fear, it stagnates. You are not here to chase money. You are here to channel it, and a true king channels wealth in alignment with his kingdom. So look at where your money flows. Does it honor the vision? Does it feed your purpose? Does it fuel your calling? Or is it being drained by distractions, by fear, by old patterns of survival? You are not in survival anymore. You are in sovereignty, and in sovereignty every dollar becomes a soldier. Every transaction becomes a declaration. Every seed becomes a prophecy. You are sending your money into your future to prepare the harvest. You are not spending. You are strategically sowing, and when you sow with intention, the field responds with multiplication. Do not underestimate what happens in the spirit when you obey financially. Many people want a breakthrough, but they won't break open their wallet. They want abundance, but they refuse to circulate. They want miracles, but they remain stingy. That's not how kings live. Kings live by trusting the unseen, not clutching the visible. They understand that the hand that gives is the hand that grows. And if you want to be trusted with more, you must demonstrate you can move with what you already have. That's why God will often ask for a move of faith before he releases the flood. Not because he needs your money, but because he wants your faith. This is your season to stop waiting for financial comfort and start walking in spiritual confidence. You are not called to live at the mercy of the economy. You are not meant to play it safe while your vision dies in the waiting room. God is asking you now, will you spend as a king would? Will you move without having it all figured out? Will you obey even when it costs you something? Will you bless others without calculating what you'll get back? Will you trust that I am your source even when the numbers don't make sense? These are the questions the Spirit is asking. And if your answer is yes, if you dare to move like a true heir, you will see what others only dream of, because kings don't beg, they don't hesitate, they don't fear the cost, they count the calling as worth every step. So get ready to move different, spend different, think different, give differently. You are not operating under the same rules as the world. You are under grace, under promise, under prophetic alignment. Every time you circulate what you have with faith, you step deeper into your inheritance. You are the one who shifts the flow. You are the one who activates the door. You are the one who multiplies by moving. So buy the ticket, register for the conference, invest in the mentorship, bless that person, start the business, sponsor the mission, pay the tithe, fund the vision. Don't wait for it to make sense. Obey because it feels like fire in your bones. That's your signal, that's your instruction, that's your authority. Spiritual spending is how kings enforce dominion. You don't ask for permission. You act from position. You don't wait for proof, you move as proof. You don't try to look rich. You spend like someone who already knows they are wealthy in spirit, in calling, in covenant. And when you live like that, the physical catches up with the spiritual. Suddenly the money shows up. The opportunity opens, the connections appear, the doors swing wide. Why? Because you obeyed, because you spent like a king, because you believed God enough to move first. So go ahead, chosen one, write the check. Send the gift, launch the brand, fund the dream. Don't play small, don't ask how much, ask what God said. And once you hear his voice, bend accordingly, because kings don't worry about the cost when they know the crown already belongs to them. Your wall, it is a weapon. How God uses your spending to announce your season, chosen one. You must understand this. Your spending is not just financial, it's prophetic. Your wallet is not just a tool for survival, it is a weapon of war in the unseen realm.
Every transaction you make, when led by the Spirit, is a declaration of war against lack, limitation, and fear. God is not just interested in what you do at the altar. He's watching what you do at the register, at the invoice, at the moment of decision where logic clashes with faith.
This is where seasons are announced, not just in your prayers, but in your purchases. When God is shifting your season, one of the first things he shifts is your spending pattern. You start feeling uneasy about old habits. You feel prompted to invest in what stretches you. You begin to feel uncomfortable spending the way you used to, not because you're broke, but because you're becoming bold. God is not calling you to spend to impress. He is calling you to spend to express. Express what? Your trust, your readiness, your awareness that you've outgrown the season of barely getting by. Chosen one, you are not spending money. You are making moves in the Spirit that speak louder than your words ever could. Let's go deeper. Money has energy, it flows, and when you spend money led by faith, you are redirecting its current away from the system of fear and into the river of destiny. That's why you can't keep clinging to it in fear. It was never meant to be your foundation. It was meant to be your fire. The Spirit is challenging you right now. Can I trust you with more if you won't even move with what you have? You want promotion, but you won't invest in preparation. You want wealth, but you're stingy with wisdom. You want a crown, but you're terrified to release the coin. Don't you see, the moment you start spending with vision, not emotion, you become a force in the kingdom. Because you're no longer just reacting to your bank account. You're responding to God's voice. Your next level will not come because you budgeted better. It will come because you believed bigger, and that belief will show up not just in what you say, but in what you do. Don't tell God you trust him if your wallet stays closed every time he says move. You cannot say, I trust you with my life, and then flinch when he nudges you to sow into the very ground he promised would produce your harvest. Your wallet, chosen one, is a prophetic instrument. God will test it, not because he wants your money, but because he wants your mindset. If he can't shift your spending, he can't shift your season, because the two are linked. Show me what you invest in, and I'll show you what you expect. Show me where your money flows, and I'll show you where your faith lives. That's why this moment matters, because how you spend this season will determine how you step into the next one. Don't be deceived by the world's narrative that you must hoard, save, and store before you obey. In the kingdom, obedience creates overflow. Faith creates access. You don't wait until you have enough. You move because God said it's time. That is the true power of kingdom wealth. It flows from belief, not balance. So stop checking your bank account before you check your spirit. Stop asking your wallet what it thinks before you consult the whisper of divine instruction. Your spirit knows the season has shifted. Your soul knows the atmosphere is ripe. Your heart knows you were made for more. So why is your wallet still behaving like you're in bondage? That's the war God is confronting in you today. He's asking, when will you let your spending prophesy your position? Do you realize what happens when you begin to spend according to your calling rather than your current condition? Heaven starts to respond. Favor begins to chase you. Doors swing open. Why? Because God sees you acting like someone who already knows they're chosen. And faith like that cannot be ignored. When the woman with the alabaster box poured expensive oil at Jesus' feet, people saw waste, but Jesus saw worship. Why? Because she understood that what she released wasn't just money, it was movement. Her spending spoke. It declared her recognition of who he was. That's the model. When you know who you are and whose you are, your giving becomes a language the world cannot understand, but heaven cannot resist. There are things God is trying to release to you, but he's waiting for you to open the valve, and the valve isn't just prayer, it's action. That means sometimes God will lead you to spend on something that doesn't make sense to your old mindset. Not because he wants you broke, but because he wants you bold. He wants you to move in such a way that you make the spirit realm pay attention, because kings don't move cheap, they don't move scared. They don't move confused, they move with conviction, and this is the season where God is saying, spend like you're already seated, move like you've already made it. Walk into the store like the provision is already released. Pay for the ticket, book the flight, register for the room, sponsor the project, not because you're showing off, but because you're showing faith. That's spiritual warfare, that's prophetic alignment. That's what separates the chosen from the cautious, and don't worry if people don't get it. The crowd will never understand why you're investing in things they think are a waste, but you're not spending to be understood. You're spending to be unleashed. You're not buying for status. You're sowing for strategy. There's a difference, and God sees it. He knows when you're moving in obedience, and every time you move, you create new movement in the Spirit. This is the power of prophetic spending. It shifts things. It displaces old patterns. It uproots strongholds. It breaks cycles. It announces that you're no longer in the season of scarcity. You've entered the flow of favor. But only your obedience can declare that. Only your spending can signal it. Only your faith can unlock it. Chosen one, you've prayed for increase. You've asked for more. You've cried out for financial breakthrough. But the answer is not going to show up while you stay seated in fear. The answer is waiting at the other end of your action. It's in the seed you're scared to release. It's in the move you've been delaying. It's in the opportunity you've been talking yourself out of. But hear this, the future you're praying for is already real in the Spirit. Your spending is the bridge that connects this moment to that reality. You don't create your future with talk. You birth it with transaction. So don't just speak it, spend into it, not recklessly but reverently, not emotionally but intentionally. You're not just releasing money, you're declaring maturity. You're saying, I'm ready now. You're saying, I'm available. You're saying, I trust you enough to let go. And the moment you do, the kingdom backs you, provision comes rushing in, miracles start to multiply. Not because you bought your way into blessing, but because you believed your way into alignment. That's the secret, your wall. It isn't your enemy, it's your evidence. It proves what you believe about God. It shows whether you truly trust Him or whether you're still leaning on your own understanding, and this is your turning point. This is your activation moment. This is where everything changes, not because the amount changed, but because you did. So let your spending speak louder than your fear. Let your giving go beyond your feelings. Let your faith show up on the receipt. Move now, obey now, sow now, invest now. Do it not to get rich, but to become ready. And as you do, remember, you are not just spending, you are prophesying. You are not just releasing money, you are releasing momentum. Your wall, it is a weapon. Use it, not for vanity, but for victory, not for ego, but for elevation. Because kings don't wait for the world to crown them. They move like they already reign, and now, chosen one, it's your turn. The divine flow of wealth, God commands you to circulate, not accumulate. Chosen one, hear this clearly. June 22 is not just another date on the calendar. It is a divine instruction wrapped in a command, and that command is simple yet supernatural. Circulate, do not accumulate. This is not the time to clutch your coins in fear, but to release them in faith. The world has conditioned you to believe that safety comes from hoarding, from building your barns bigger, from saving up for the day disaster might strike. But God operates from a kingdom where wealth flows like a river, not like a dam. When He blesses you, it is not so you can bottle the blessing, but so that you can become the channel. This is the month, the moment, the momentum where God is saying, I need you to stop thinking like a slave and start moving like a steward. You are not meant to be a collector. You are meant to be a current. You see, many people pray for financial overflow, yet they live in a mindset of contraction. They beg God for abundance, but behave like lack is their portion. Why? Because they haven't understood the sacred law of divine flow. Whatever you cling to in fear, you lose, but whatever you release in faith multiplies. The more you try to store, the more stagnant your spirit becomes. But the more you allow your resources to move with intention, the more you come into alignment with heaven's economy. This is why God is pressing you to spend, to move, to invest, not just to meet your needs, but to prove that your trust is no longer tied to your bank account. You're not just being asked to give, you're being invited to flow. Let's dismantle the lie that God wants you broke to keep you humble. That's religious bondage, not spiritual truth. God is not intimidated by your wealth. He is interested in how you use it. And make no mistake, how you use it will either keep you small or activate your spiritual inheritance. God blesses those He can trust with circulation, not those who treat blessings like trophies. If God pours into you and you shut the valve, you cut off the next wave of what he wants to send. That's why some of you have felt a financial freeze, because heaven stopped sending what you refused to send forward. You thought saving it was wisdom, but in God's eyes it was fear. You thought holding back was responsible, but in the Spirit it was rebellion. He gave you seed, but you treated it like a security blanket. Chosen one, this is deeper than giving money. It's about becoming a magnet of movement. God is looking for people he can trust to carry his wealth into places that systems and traditions can't reach. That's why he's stretching you. That's why you feel compelled to start investing in visions that seem bigger than your current capacity. He's training you not to accumulate like the world, but to circulate like the kingdom. And every time you obey, every time you spend with faith, every time you release what seems small, heaven responds, because obedience creates flow. Flow creates expansion. Expansion attracts more flow. It's a cycle of divine rhythm, but it starts when you stop clenching your fist and start opening your hand. There is a reason God is pressing this into your spirit in June. June is the month of double alignment. It is the 6th month, the midpoint, the moment of recalibration. If you miss this shift, you may spend the rest of the year circling the same mountain of financial hesitation. But if you respond, if you circulate now, the rest of the year will respond to your obedience today. God is issuing a command, not a suggestion, to start spending like someone who understands their role in divine flow. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means responsibility at a higher level. It means moving money like Moses moved the rod, with purpose, with power, and with prophetic clarity. Think about the story of the widow at Zarephath. God didn't send Elijah to a wealthy palace. He sent him to a woman who had only enough for one last meal. Why? Because her obedience would trigger overflow. She circulated what little she had, and in doing so, God circulated heaven's resources in her direction. The oil did not run dry, the flour did not fail, and God was glorified in a house that dared to move in divine flow. You are being called to the same test. Will you trust God enough to release even when it feels like the supply is low? Will you believe that he is not just the source, but the sustainer of your next season? If so, then act accordingly, spend accordingly, move accordingly. Faith without flow is dead. You've been chosen to be a kingdom distribution center. That means wealth must pass through you, not just park in you. When God pours into you, it's because he's sending it somewhere else through you. Your assignment is not to count the coins, but to count the impact. Who gets blessed when you obey? Who gets lifted when you stop hesitating? Who gets free when you start circulating? The blessing is never just about you. It's about what moves through you. You are not a container. You are a conduit. So what does it look like to circulate in this season? It means obeying when God tells you to invest in yourself, whether that's in your education, your purpose, your health, or your healing. It means sowing into people, places, and platforms that are aligned with your calling. It means not talking yourself out of generosity just because it feels uncomfortable. Remember, comfort zones kill flow. God isn't trying to make you comfortable. He's trying to make you current, and currency flows where faith leads. Chosen one, some of your greatest financial miracles will not come from saving more. They will come from circulating better. There is money waiting to meet you, but it's waiting on the other side of your movement. What you hoard shrinks, what you circulate grows. You must decide what kind of life you want to live. Will you be a reservoir, storing up what God meant to send, or will you be a river, always flowing, always moving, always bringing life wherever you touch? That's the difference between the rich in the world and the wealthy in the spirit. The world builds barns. The kingdom builds bridges. You don't need more money. You need more motion, because money follows motion. Wealth follows wisdom, and God is giving you the wisdom now. Circulate, so move, obey. This is not the time to delay. You've prayed long enough. You've fasted long enough. Now God is saying, spend like a king, because I'm placing you in a kingdom season. You don't wait until the crown comes to act royal. You act royal, and the crown confirms what you already believed. Circulate like you know who you are. Move money like you're already a manager of heaven's resources. Handle currency like someone who understands that lack is a lie and overflow is your inheritance, and as you do, you'll notice something divine start to unfold. Doors you didn't knock on will open. Provision you didn't plan for will show up. Support you didn't expect will find you. Why? Because flow attracts favor, and when you step into the rhythm of giving, spending, sowing, and investing as led by the Spirit, heaven takes notice. This is how you shift realms. This is how you move from survival to significance, not by stacking your coins in fear, but by moving them in faith. June 22 is your activation point. It is not about how much you have, it's about how much you believe. It's not about showing off wealth, it's about showing up in alignment. Don't miss this moment because you were too afraid to release. Don't disobey the command because you were too comfortable with control. Circulate now, spend with purpose, move in faith, and as you do, the windows of heaven won't just open for you. They'll flow through you. Chosen one, you were never meant to play small with your resources. You were chosen to be a funnel of divine flow, and this is the hour to move boldly, obey quickly, spend strategically, and live prophetically. For when God commands you to circulate, He's already prepared the next wave of wealth. It's coming, but only to those who obey. Let the flow begin. Spend boldly. You're already backed by heaven's vault, chosen one. The time has come for you to walk differently, think differently, and yes, spend differently. June 22 is not about indulgence. It is about activation. It is about stepping into the truth that you are already backed by the eternal vault of heaven. The world has trained you to count what's in your pocket before you move, but God is calling you to count what's in His hand. You don't walk by sight, you walk by faith. You don't budget by the balance sheet, you budget by divine backing. This is the message in this sacred moment. God is telling you to spend like the vault is open, because it is. Not because of who you are in the flesh, but because of who you are in the Spirit. You are not a beggar. You are not a borrower. You are a distributor of divine resources, chosen and positioned for such a time as this. You've been hesitant, you've been calculating, you've been stuck in cycles of self. Doubt every time God whispers move, but the vault doesn't open for the cautious. It opens for the convinced. Those who know they are called don't wait for proof. They act as proof. Your spending is not merely a transaction. It's a testament to your trust. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to make it make sense. You just need to know that when God says, spend, He's not trying to empty you. He's trying to elevate you. Every coin you release in alignment is a door you unlock in the Spirit. Every obedient expense is a seed in soil that already knows your name. When you spend led by the Holy Spirit, you're not reducing your supply. You're reporting to heaven that you're ready for your next assignment. What stops most people is not money, it's memory. You remember the lack, you remember the struggle, you remember when you didn't have enough. But you must understand, God didn't bring you this far to humiliate you. He brought you this far to graduate you. This is your graduation season, and the test, will you spend like someone who already passed? Will you move like someone who knows the resources of heaven back every righteous risk? This is not theory, this is not hype. This is law, the law of divine sufficiency. When you obey, God funds. When you move, God meets. When you sow, God multiplies. But you have to release it in faith. The vault of heaven doesn't open based on desperation. It opens based on revelation. When you know who you are, you stop hesitating. When you know whose you are, you stop shrinking. The vault is not reserved for the elite. It is not for the perfect. It is not for the religiously decorated. It is for the faithful. For those who know that if God called you to it, He already cleared the way and funded the journey. That idea you have, already financed in heaven, that dream burning in your belly, already supported by angels, that move you've been scared to make, already backed by divine reserves. All God needs is for you to move, not timidly, not fearfully, but boldly, confidently, like a child who knows their father owns the entire cosmos. You must change the way you see money. It is not your master, it's your messenger. When you spend under the voice of God, your money becomes a message in the realm of the Spirit. I believe what He said. It is a sermon that cannot be preached with words alone. You must learn to let your purchases preach. Let your investments intercede. Let your generosity prophesy. You are not just buying. You are building a bridge between your current reality and your prophetic future. Your spending is building faith structures that will outlast seasons and silence fear. And make no mistake, hell is terrified of a chosen one who spends in the Spirit, because that spending breaks strongholds, it bankrupts fear, it silences doubt. God is not asking you to be reckless. He is asking you to be responsive. To move when He says move, to release when He says release, to purchase when He says purchase, not to impress anyone, not to validate your identity, but to activate your authority. Kings don't wait for approval to use their wealth. They move in alignment with the King of Kings. And you, chosen one, are a royal priesthood. You've been handpicked, prepared, and now funded, but the vault won't pour until you position yourself. Position isn't about geography. It's about posture. It's the posture of faith, of decisiveness, of knowing the vault is not up there, in some distant galaxy. It is in you, Christ in you, the hope of glory. That means the entire treasury of heaven is tied to your obedience. This is why the enemy has fought your confidence, why fear has tried to choke your boldness, why you've hesitated before every divine instruction to give, to spend, to act. Because hell knows the moment you realize the vault is open, you become unstoppable. The devil doesn't fear your income. He fears your insight. He doesn't tremble at your wallet. He trembles at your willingness. Because once you become a vessel God can trust, wealth will chase you, favor will surround you, and nothing will be withheld from you. Let's talk practical. What does it look like to spend like heaven is backing you? It means moving even when your checking account doesn't have all the numbers the world demands, but your faith does. It means enrolling in the course, booking the venue, launching the project, buying the tool, hiring the coach, sowing the seed. It means giving where the Spirit directs, not where logic limits. It means trusting the divine nudge over the financial spreadsheet. It means remembering this unshakable truth. God is not limited by your balance. He's only limited by your belief. Look around. Everything you've needed, God has supplied. You may not have noticed it in the form you wanted, but it came. It always came. The meals were there. The roof stayed overhead. The help showed up. The provision may have looked like a delay, but it was on time. So if He did it then, why would He not fund the more He's calling you to now? Do not insult His record with doubt. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from favor. Every divine instruction is an opportunity to display your faith in action. So when God says spend like a king, don't look at your wallet, look at His word. It never returns void. It's time to take dominion over how you move. If you've been thinking poor, thinking fearful, thinking small, it's time to upgrade your standard. Kings do not ask, can I afford this? They ask, is this aligned with my kingdom? Chosen one, this is not just about having more, it's about becoming more. Because your relationship with money reveals your relationship with trust, and God is calling you to master this area, not so you can live in luxury, but so you can live in liberty. Free to sow, free to support, free to build, free to give, free to change lives. You cannot do that bound by the chains of fear, and God didn't send you here to be a prisoner. He sent you to be a provider. When you start spending with this revelation, everything shifts. You walk with new clarity, you choose with new boldness, you stop waiting for perfect conditions, because you realize the vault was never closed. It was just waiting for you to wake up, and now that you're awake, move, circulate, fund the vision, back the dream, be the answer. That money you're afraid to release is the very money that's meant to unlock the miracle. God can do more with your last $100 than you can do with $1 million in fear, because heaven doesn't count what you give, it multiplies what you obey. So spend boldly, spend with fire, spend like you've already received the inheritance, because in the Spirit you have. You are not hoping for wealth, you are walking in it, you are not asking for provision, you are distributing it, the vault is open, the angels are watching, the doors are waiting, all of heaven is holding its breath to see. Will you act like it's already done? Will you spend, not to survive, but to send a message to every realm that you are who God says you are? Chosen one, the vault is not a fantasy, it's not a future, it's a now, and it opens to the sound of your faith. Spend accordingly, move prophetically, live generously, and never forget, when you obey the King, all of heaven backs your every step. You are not risking, You are reigning, now go and spend like the king's child you truly are.